We kick off today's Mobil One the Grid in France at the greatest endurance race of them all on the Circuit de la Sarthe.
After the excitement of last year's centenary edition, 23 hypercars topped the billing at this year's Le Mans 24 Hours. The crowds packed in to enjoy the biggest top category field of the century. Among them were 3 Cadillac V-Series.Rs, back at Le Mans hoping to improve on their third place finish in 2023.
Le Mans is Le Mans. To be able to showcase our potential in the other side of the Atlantic here at the biggest race of the year, it's a great opportunity.
Ford is the only American brand to win overall with the famous GT40. Now it's an iconic car. And honestly, the determination of us as a brand and a team to make the V-Series.R iconic speaks for itself. I love the car, but we need to make it a winner.
Their strong driver lineup included 2 current IndyCar stars who'd hot-footed it from Road America to make first practice at Le Mans.
I love coming here. It's the biggest and best endurance race in the world. There's not many people that get the opportunity to come here. It's very tough to get a ride here. And I think myself and Alex are pretty lucky to obviously be with Chip Ganassi Racing and then get to cross over to do this outside of our regular IndyCar season.
First time here, never been here as a fan or driving in any series. So there was a small learning process at the beginning, but it's just amazing to go around here.
For Porsche, this was an opportunity for an historic 20th overall win, and they'd brought a 6-pack of entries, including 3 works Porsche Penskes.
The season's been great for us. We started by winning in Qatar, first win of a Porsche in the hypercar category in WC, leading the championship, so it's been a very, very good start of the season.
I still believe maybe Ferrari and Toyota have a small edge on everybody else here, but we've seen so far, at least on our side, that we've been really competitive in the World Endurance Championship, also in IMSA, so we arrived pretty confident.
It's by far the biggest race of the year for both Penske and Porsche, and a lot of focus and emphasis has gone into this particular race. I'm putting a lot of focus into this weekend, and hopefully we can get some results from it.
Doubling the numbers for Porsche were the customer entries of Hertz Team Jota and Proton competition.
First of all, it's mathematically a higher chance with having more cars. That's the obvious calculation. There is clear hopes that one of the Porsches is up there. Obviously, we hope it's our Porsche, but we'll see. I mean, at Le Mans, anything can happen.
This is the year to win Le Mans. I drove the Garage 56 NASCAR last year, and that's what got me hooked on Le Mans. The atmosphere, the competition, the track, the teamwork that goes into it, and I just love all of that. But the aim was to get into a car this year that gave me the chance of winning. And I think because it's so competitive this year, it means even more.
Team Jota won the previous WEC round at Spa, but were in a race against time after their number 12 car crashed out on Wednesday night.
A big setback last night with Callum's incident. But if there's one thing I know with this team, I wouldn't want anyone else to be preparing the race car in a difficult circumstance than everyone we have working here.
Last year's runners-up were Toyota, and the Japanese Mark was determined to get back to the top step after losing out to Ferrari.
This year it's even more difficult than last year to win, but yeah, it's good for us. It's challenging, but also for the team we need to improve, and for the fans it's going to be a very, very good event.
We are out there to prove a point. We want to prove that we can beat them all, even if we won the race when the competition was less. We want to win against as many people as possible, so hopefully we can prove everyone's wrong, that we can win in front of them.
The sister car had taken Toyota's only win of the season at Imola, with new boy Nick de Vries driving alongside Mike Conway and Kamui Kobayashi. But Conway had suffered a cycling accident the week before Le Mans, and so Jose Maria Lopez was back in the number 7.
I was with Mike at the moment of the accident. I was riding with him, I fell off too of this. We spent all the day in the hospital, I stayed with him, and the day after, when he was flying to Belgium for getting his operation, I got the call from the team, and you always have the doubt, how long is it going to take you to adapt again? But to be honest, it came quite quickly to me.
While Lopez got back up to speed, Kobayashi's pacey qualifying time was chalked off by the officials as he crashed and brought out the red flags on Wednesday night.
I think Kamui, first of all, did a great job in qualifying. I think he's been unfortunate to lose all his lap times, but the week is very long. It's a 24 hours race. There's likely to be some rain involved, so honestly, anything can happen.
Instead, it was Porsche who headed Thursday night's Hyperpole with Kevin Estre, the hero of the hour for Porsche Penske Motorsport.
I'm not sure if we are in the position of favorite, but we are definitely up there. We will fight for the win, I'm pretty sure. We have the talent and the performance to fight up front.
Le Mans Garage 56 entry last season brought a Gen 7 NASCAR to the Circuit de la Sarthe. While the North American stock car doesn't have the sleek lines of a Le Mans hypercar, out on the ovals, aerodynamics are just as important.
It's a huge part in auto racing in any type of sport, right? You see it in Formula One, you see it in go-karts, you see it in everything where aero and drafting and takes place. And with these cars punching as big a hole as they do, and now with the underwing, it's probably more sensitive and more important than it ever has been.
Every ounce on our race car, overbody and underbody, and even internally in the cockpit, we are adjusting in a wind tunnel to try to maximize every little thing. It's as simple as going down the road and turning your hand from flat to sideways, and you see the difference on how it affects your hand. That's affecting our car, but we're going 175 miles an hour.
As Stewart Haas Racing hunt for victories in their final NASCAR campaign, engineers constantly seek more downforce, and airflow is key.
The underwing makes probably 70% of the downforce, so trying to maximize the splitter and the underwing and the diffuser is the most important part, no matter what. But it really comes down to the setup too, and getting that diffuser as low to the ground as you can get it, which makes the most downforce.
When you sit on the pole or when you get the lead off pit road and you're able to take off at the restart and be the front car, you have the maximum downforce on your car. Your car has more pushing the tires into the racetrack than anybody else. Like following a tractor trailer down the highway and you pull out of line to pass him or you stay behind him, you feel the buffer in your car, and that's the air hitting your car.
When you're out in front of everybody, you're all by yourself. You're able to have all the wind pushing down on the car as you're going through the air. So it smushes the car into the racetrack. Dirty air is when you get behind somebody, so now that all the wind and the air is not pushing down onto the car. So that's kind of what we fight every single time we go to a track above a mile, pretty much. It's just how you manage the clean air versus dirty air.
In all forms of racing, clean air provides better downforce, but in the heat of battle, dirty or disrupted air can help set up a winning pass.
Dirty air would be an advantage at your super speedways, your Daytonas and Talladegas, just because the air is disturbed by the guy in front of you, so there's less resistance for you, the trailing car, so you can suck up, we call it a NASCAR, and create a bump draft, which ultimately you and the guy in front of you go faster.
You'll see it at Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega. Those are extremely important, where the guy in second and third, his ability to go fast is greater than the guy in front because they don't have as much air on them. When you go to Richmond, when you go to places where you lift a lot, that doesn't matter. But if you're wide open or have a lot of throttle down, any extra little horsepower you get from being in a draft, that'll help you.
You have to work on putting your car in better positions when you are in dirty air, keeping the left front headlight out or keeping the right front headlight out. They're super sensitive to packing air on the lead car, so you'll see guys in second place on corner entry pack air on the right rear of the leader, and you'll see him drag them back. Well, it induces more drag to the lead car, gives you the ability to set yourself up to pass. So not necessarily putting yourself in the best place, but maybe putting him in a worse place.
Back at Le Mans, precision teamwork and a winning strategy are required to win the 24-hour classic. Cadillac Racing was seeking a first victory, and Elise Maury is the strategy engineer for their number 2 V-Series.R.
My main job is during the race to make sure we box on time for fuel and tires and energy. But also I work a lot before the race day to build up all the numbers to make sure I understand what all cars are capable of and where we are compared to the others.
Elise and her husband run their own GT team in New Zealand, but at Le Mans they're part of an engineering team crunching the numbers and determining the strategy.
The race engineer, he's the only person talking to the driver, so that's Carlo. And next to him is the performance engineer, so that's my husband John, and he feeds the race engineer with most of the useful performance information, brakes, tires and stuff like that. There's also the team manager, Steven, then Marco, We does mainly fuel and all the system side, making sure that we collect all the data and all the systems are working. I watch the top speed, I watch the pace sector by sector, and I also watch the gaps on track to understand where the cars are compared to each other. And if we stop, are we losing compared to a car, or are we gaining compared to another car? But I'm also looking at the telemetries to understand the fuel consumption, the energy consumption, the tire pressures. And also John and I are working a lot on the weather, so for sure this also takes a lot of part in the decisions that we take.
At the wheel of the number 2 car were team regulars Alex Lynn and Earl Bamber, plus third driver Alex Palou, an IndyCar title contender this season but a Le Mans rookie.
There's a lot of new information for him, but there's also been some training before, simulation days that we did with him, so it's not the first time he literally goes on the track. For sure there's a bit of adaptation for him, but the three of them are very professional, very good drivers. Most of the time they are really nice to us. There can be some frustration for sure because the emotions are high and intense while racing.
Elise is a wonderful person. I really enjoy working with her on a day-to-day basis. She comes up with all of the strategy, what tyres to use when, tyre pressure, etc. She's probably one of the last people I would speak to before I get in the car. This is the plan, this is what we need, this is the cars we're racing, and then it's up to me to go and execute. She's come up with a few great strategies so far this season. Let's see if we can pull out one more good one this weekend.
We prepared since the beginning of the year, and most of the attention is drawn toward Le Mans, so this is a very big one. I don't think a lot of people have the chance to say they won Le Mans once or even twice, so it would be fantastic. I would love it.
Le Mans was in a frenzy ahead of the 92nd running of the world's greatest endurance race. The Drivers' Parade in Le Mans Town Centre is a one-off in today's motorsport, especially for pole-sitters Porsche.
The Drivers' Parade is definitely one of the highlights. You have a lot of people screaming your name, you know, Kevin, give me this, give me that. And it's something really cool. You feel like a rock star for one day.
Obviously, French driver in Le Mans, you really feel that the fan really pushes the French people. Got this driver parade, which is kind of unique. I don't see that anywhere else in the world. In the middle of the city, and you go in these old, classic, beautiful cars, and the people are just crazy with it. And that's definitely, for me, an highlight of the week. I love the driver parade.
It's no less special for hometown hero Sébastien Bourdais, whose career might have been forged in America, but enjoys this race more than any other.
It is really heartwarming when you go to the parade and people are chanting your name, and it's kind of weird, but it's really cool at the same time. You can tell that they really care and that they really want you to do well. In general, I just don't like attention, but in that particular set of circumstances, it's really special.
5-time winners Toyota always get a rapturous welcome, and especially Swiss driver Sébastien Buemi, who's an honorary Frenchman at the Drivers' Parade following his 3 victories.
Sometimes it's not that easy to enjoy it, especially because it's before the race and you get the feeling that you are reaching the peak of the stress of the race weekend. But halfway through the parade, you tend to forget about the race and just enjoy the moment.
Adding to the stardust were MotoGP legend Valentino Rossi and former F1 drivers Robert Kubica and Jenson Button. And so Le Mans slept briefly ahead of race day and a mass gathering on the grid. The weather threatened to make the 24-hour race an unpredictable challenge. For Team Jota, they were just glad to have made it to the start line.
On Wednesday night, so yeah, we had a crash, and since then, they've been working far out for the car to be today on the grid. So big thanks to them. What's gonna come next, we don't know, but so far, just to be at the start of 24 hours of Le Mans, it's a big thanks to them.
We have a very, very strong field here with Porsche, with Ferrari, with Cadillac. They have shown really good pace, and we know we are in the mix. So let's see how the race unfolds, and we would like to be the top spot. We have rain, we have sun, we have wind. We will have a very changing start. A race which will be very changeable weather conditions.
The weather is very dodgy, I would say. It's going to rain a little here and there. But also the wind picked up a lot, so that dries the track very quickly. So with strategy for tires and making the right calls, that's going to be decided for the race, I'm sure.
You worry about the weather, you worry about your guys, you worry about the fans, you worry about the TVs, you worry about everything. We're going to figure out who's going to finish second, and we're going to be in front of them.
Well, looking good. We're starting from first place, but obviously the weather has its own mind this weekend for the race, so it's going to be difficult for the driver, but we're ready.
Porsche lead the 23-strong hypercar field away at the world's greatest motor race.
Every year, Le Mans plays host to 2 wheeled series as well as 4, and MotoGP's annual visit brings the world's best riders. In his 5th Top Flight campaign, Red Bull KTM's Brad Binder is the fastest man on the grid.
To describe myself as a rider is always a little bit tricky, I think, but you know, I think I'm a much better racer than I am qualifier or a guy that rides around in practice. I love racing firstly and foremost, but I think I really enjoy the battles, enjoy fighting on track, and that's what makes me tick. That's what I enjoy doing.
The 28-year-old South African set a MotoGP speed record of 366.1 kilometers per hour last season and claimed 2 sprint race victories, but just missed out on a Grand Prix win.
We were lucky last year, well not lucky, we got 2 victories in the sprints, which was awesome. In the main races, there's a couple times last season where I know I should have won, but I just didn't quite put everything together the way I should have. One in particular was Valencia last year. I ended up locking the front wheel going off track, so I think we just haven't quite put everything together in the main races. However, I know there's wins on the cards. I feel like I've had such a great run with KTM, and I love my entire team. I feel like I have the best team in the paddock by a long way. The guys are just really awesome people, and it's such a pleasure to show up to work regardless whether we have a good day or bad day. My crew are such cool people, and just such a pleasure to work with. And there's nothing I'd like more than to try and win for them.
While seeking those victories, the KTM star has enjoyed some epic battles at the front of the pack and continually uses that experience to improve his racecraft.
The guys I'm fighting against now in MotoGP are the people I've raced against my entire career. I think 90% of the field, we all raced together in Moto3 back in the day, so it's cool racing against all these guys, but of course when you're up front fighting for a victory with different manufacturers, each of us have our strong points. It's always really fun for me to try and figure out, okay, this is where I need to make my move, this is how we have to do it, and this is where we have to improve. The thing is, you kind of know with each rider what to expect. You know some of them are super clean, super consistent, and other guys are maybe a little bit more wild or a little bit more prone to making mistakes. Each rider has their characteristics, and I find it's really important to understand that because you can use them to your advantage.
With a new contract under his belt, Binder's goal now is to improve on last season's career-best 4th place finish in the Riders' Championship.
Of course it would be great to be in the top 3, but the goal is always to be world champion. That's what I wake up thinking about in the morning. That's my goal in life, and it's been a hell of a ride to get to where we are today, but I'm looking forward to trying to put that last little bit together, and I really want to one day call myself a world champion.
The opening hours of the Le Mans 24 saw Porsche, Toyota and Cadillac all battling with Ferrari as the weather began to make strategy calls extremely difficult. Last year's runner-up, the number 8 Toyota, was racing hard as Sebastian Buemi finished his stint in the GR010 hypercar.
Yeah, so we are so far on P4. I think the Ferrari, the Porsche obviously are really fast. We'll have to wait and see how it develops, but the car is fast enough to be at the front, yeah. We'll have to see until how it evolves, but so far I would say the pace is not bad.
For Porsche, it was the number 5 963 that was leading their charge, while Cadillac seemed to have the pace in the dry, but was struggling to keep up in the wetter conditions.
I mean, it's been a pretty interesting start. We've had, wet, dry, changeable conditions, so sort of just cycling through. I just jumped out of the car after doing a triple stint a bit in the wet, so I think we've got okay speed. We've sort of fallen back. Now, hopefully, if there's a safety car, we can close back up, and it's really enjoyable. I mean, the racing's great. The conditions are challenging. I think they're only going to get more challenging in the nighttime, so that's what Le Mans is all about.
Much of the nighttime was taken up with a safety car which neutralized the racing in merciless rain. In fact, a quarter of the 24-hour Enduro was run behind the safety car. The number 4 Porsche was a casualty just after 9 in the morning.
That's the Porsche that's gone off. Felipe Nasser just before Indianapolis. Good news, he's out of the car.
For Cadillac, the number 3 car suffered a terminal failure in the 18th hour, while the Wheel and Caddies race was ruined by a big shunt, also at the Indianapolis corner. It was the blue number 2 that carried the fight for the American mark, but they didn't have the pace in the final hours and finished in 7th. Porsche were also unable to claim a podium spot, with the number 5 finishing 6th and the pole-sitting number 6 agonizingly finishing just 1 second out of 3rd place. After miraculous work to rebuild the number 12 963, both Jota Porsches would finish the race on the lead lap, 8th and 9th overall, but with a 1-2 in the privateer standings ahead of the Proton Porsche. Toyota had a shot at victory in the final stages, but it all went wrong as Brendan Hartley made a late lunge for the lead.
What a battle this is. He's Hartley round the outside of Multan corner and he spins it. Ferrari is still in the lead.
The number 8's chance of victory was gone as the sister car took up the fight with Jose Maria Lopez at the wheel. They would finish 2nd, splitting the 2 works Ferraris, with the number 50 taking the top step. For Toyota, it was an agonizing defeat, but a first Le Mans podium for Nick de Vries.
I think we all share a little bit of a bittersweet feeling. Obviously, it's great to be on the podium, but we felt we were very close, and to see it just slipping out of your hands hurts, especially after such a roller coaster ride.
Next time, we profile Toyota's latest recruit, Nick de Vries, and how Ryan Preece survived a big moment at Daytona. See you then on Mobil 1 The Grid.